Hey everybody, welcome back to Vanti EDC. Today I'm going to be giving you my initial impressions on a knife from a manufacturer that I have never handled myself personally, but I've heard really good things about. I'm sure if you're an enthusiast, if you're watching this video, you've probably heard of them and maybe you've handled some for yourself. But I'll just open it and then I'll explain more. And let's make sure there's no, yep, okay, good. So what we have here is a Kunwu. So if you haven't heard Kunwu, I'm not sure where the primary designers of Kunwu, where they're based out of, but they manufacture in China. This got to me a lot sooner than I expected because I've heard things about like 2 month fulfillment times from placing an order to when it actually gets to you. I got this straight through their website for what that's worth. So yeah. Anyway, this is a model that came out fairly recently and got a lot of hype, and I kind of wanted to see if the hype was something, not just, I guess maybe not valid, but see if this was a knife that really appealed to me. I'm really uncertain if this will be a knife that I end up keeping or not, but I just felt like it was worth getting my hands on it to just see it for myself, because yeah, it has some really appealing elements to it. So let's go ahead and get into this here. If I can, let's see. I don't think that's a seam. There we go. Okay, whatever. All right, so it's very staggy. Get off of me. There we go. Okay. So, oh, I see. That's why that. Well, interesting. How does this box work? Oh, okay. Magnetic seal comes with this nice little. it's a very rustic looking sleeve or whatever you call it, pouch. Comes with microfiber branded and blah blah blah. All right, so you may recognize this from here. This is the Kunwu Padre, and so this came out a few months ago, and there it is. So there's two right-hand variations, I should say, for the moment. So this is the stonewash one. There's also a satin one. Wow, that texturing is real. It's not aggressive, but it is very pronounced. Yeah, so it doesn't feel aggravating. It's just, anyway. Okay, so it's a large knife for sure. For comparison, there's an Unumzan next to it, and so it's definitely large. It's taller, like in terms of from here to here. I think it's even thicker. Anyway, not gonna get too much into comparisons just yet, but yeah, this is it does have some grease. I've just preservative grease is what I'm assuming it is. But yeah, it feels hefty, not crazy heavy. I think it's still under 6 ounces, like maybe like over 5.5. I'm not sure. But yeah, let's see if there's any flaws. That backspacer is nice. Yeah, so this is the stonewash variation. So I chose this partially because it's kind of more of a working finish rather than like one of those finishes that you would notice every little flaw or like, yeah, a ding. Let's see. Oh yeah, so there's the Damascus pivot collar. So yeah, it looks good so far. Let's check the centering on this. From my eye, it looks pretty dang good. Don't feel any, there's no detent lash there. Okay, well, let's open it. I'll do the reverse flick first. Ooh, wow. Yeah, hefty. Hefty blade. And maybe I won't use that. Let me get a patch here. A lot of grease out of the box, which I'm not mad about. It's just kind of looks yucky. Okay. Yeah, that felt very hefty, flinging out of the handle there. Yeah, let's see, and let's test. Ooh, feels a little front flick. That's front flip. That's very easy to do. You could probably hear that. It sounds a little gritty. I don't know if it needs to get cleaned up. It's not wanting to drop shut, at least. yeah, it's not wanting to drop shut, but I can shake it shut pretty easily with very little force. Let's see if I can do the thumb flick here. Yep, thumb flick's not too difficult. Yeah, there's I think there's enough of there's not too much chamfering here, such that you slip off. So yeah, it's fairly easy. So yeah, action. It feels snappy. Not snappy. Again, I don't know. It feels authoritative. That's for sure because of how hefty that blade, or how big the blade is. I mean, notice how tall that blade is. Man, there really is a lot of crap on this. I'll do more thorough cleaning once this video ends, so I'm not boring y'all too much, but it kind of bothers me, so I want to see the actual... Yeah, this is a very dark stone wash. It looks almost closer to like an acid wash, I would say. Because like, I mean, for comparison, I mean, this is also a stone wash, this VECP button lock, but that's like almost, it's like a hazy reflective stone wash. So, I mean, I guess there's variations of stone wash. Anyway, yeah, so action feels good. It's not falling shut on its own, but it's smooth and it takes very little to close once you disengage the lock. Lock access, you can see, so from like a pure, there's no, what do you call it? It's not, the lock bar does not protrude higher than the show side scale, but there is this scalloping right there. It's not textured in any way, but, so yeah, I mean, maybe that would be something that I might like. Yeah, something I don't love, but it's not terrible. Let's feel the and so then lock access, the detent strength. I mean, I'm not failing any of these deployments, so I feel like that is one indicator, not a total indicator, but one indicator of detent strength being sufficient. Like it doesn't feel like, how would I say it? Yeah, it doesn't feel too light. It doesn't feel too strong. It feels pretty good. Yeah, like there, I didn't even get like the best leverage on it, and it still goes. So it's definitely not too strong there. Ergos, yeah. So I mean, looking at the ergos of this knife, knives that have, generally speaking, the knives that I've handled that have this sort of arch in the spine here of the handle generally feel very good in hand. You can see right here, it just melts right along the line of my thumb into my palm. It doesn't need to be this swooped, like it could be a little less swooped and still feel very comfortable, but as soon as I close my fingers around it, you know, it's very tightly locked in, it feels like. Definitely more like with having this pronounced finger choil here, and then this forward finger choil, and then this very enclosed, but at the same time, there's not each finger getting its own like choil, or whatever you want to call it. Feels very comfortable. It doesn't feel what would you say? It doesn't feel yeah, it doesn't feel blocky or like unnatural to hold. So yeah, one of the first things I mentioned was this texture. It's very, like when you put your finger to it, it's very pronounced, but it is not uncomfortable. I would say this is very, I don't want to say smooth because that might give the wrong connotation. Like I think it gives perfect traction, but it also isn't like, oh, like they definitely knocked it down or whatever. They didn't make it so sharp that it's gonna, like, I mean, it could be abrasive, especially like on your pocket where the clip meets the scale, but I don't think it's by no means the most aggressive texture that you could get on a knife, so that's good. In the standard grip here, I'm not feeling, I can notice the clip, but it doesn't feel uncomfortable. It's sitting nicely right about here in the seam of my palm, so it's yeah, it's definitely very comfortable to hold. Notice, like, so when I'm holding it, there, like, because of the curvature of the handle, the blade slightly cants forward for what that's worth. So I could see this being like kind of like a camp chef's knife, because of how much belly you got, you can kind of like roll into cuts and whatnot. I'm not a professional cutter, so I can't speak to that, but I can imagine that. Yeah, clip placement. So it's not true deep carry, but other than this like lanyard glass breaker backspacer tip thing, it's pretty high up. So then let's see, so there is So if you were to carry it, let me close this, I'm not risking cutting myself. If you were to carry it, let's put the card there just for now. It would sit like this. That's as high up on the clip, or yeah, high up as it'll protrude. So we'll take that for what you will. Yeah. Handle rigidity. These are full titanium slabs. They are, I don't know, you can kind of see in there, they are skeletonized, but definitely, yeah, on both sides, both the lock bar, just the general lock side scale and the show side scale, pretty heavily pocketed inside. Even still, I think this is, yeah, like maybe over 5.5 ounces. If I'm remembering correctly, it might be just under 5.5 ounces, but it's like somewhere in that. It's not close to 5.0 ounces. Like I think the Zon is just at 5 ounces basically. So yeah, but yeah, this, feels nice and sturdy. Let's see. Yeah, let's take a look more closely at this blade here. So again, this is the stonewash one. Kind of looks borderline acid wash. Maybe if I use some sort of cleaner and get this grease off, maybe it'll shine a little more or something. Yeah, it feels very acid washy. I say that I don't own any acid wash blades as far as I can recall, but having seen plenty of videos on them, this looks very close to that. It's a very dark shade. It's not a very like light tone to it. But yeah, you have this like big bellied clip point. A lot of people say it's a ripoff or of the CKF, the Rotten Design Evo. And I can see why they say that from a blade perspective. I don't have an opinion, I guess, or I can see that. You do have, so yeah, a lot of belly. It does come to this really, it's not a crazy like sharp fine tip, but it's not too thick either. Like it's definitely, it can be a piercing point. And one thing I'm noticing is there's like this defined swedge, like going all the way down to the point, and then another spine swedge along the spine of the blade there. There's this flat here, but you have a really tall primary grind up to this flat here. So let's cut something with it. Let's see what we can do. Okay. Oh yeah. Yep. So I think the blade is around like 3.4 inches long. Let's actually see. From here, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's about like 3.4 inches long, but cutting edge wise, you'll notice that it is just over 3 inches there. So, not making the best use out of the potential cutting edge, but you do have this great forward choil, which is a lot of like very reminiscent of an SNG like SMF. What do you call it? The Borka Microtech Stitch. I can't remember if the CKF Evo actually has a forward choil like this, but yeah, it has a nice edge right out of the box. Let's see if we can do some really, it's a very, very toothy edge if I'm using that correctly. So, like puncturing, pretty decent puncturing. Let's look at the edge bevel, see how well they did that. It's definitely not perfectly uniform. I'm wondering, can't tell for certain what angle they did the edge at, but for now it's cutting great. With a knife like this, I wouldn't necessarily want it to have a fine edge, just given how big of a blade it is. I'd rather have it be a little like more of a, less steep of an edge, just so that it is more durable. Because the blade stock is not super thick. I think it's at most 0.15 inches. Let's see, compared to the Zon, because I know the Zon I think is like 0.14. So, it looks maybe like 1 or 2 tenths or 1 or 2 hundredths thicker than the Zon, but not significantly more. It's not like a 0.25 inch stock. So all that to say, I wouldn't want it to have this super sharp, or not super sharp, but like super steep edge. So, yeah, uh, yeah. I mean, I can say that I don't think I love the appearance of this blade finish personally, but again, I'll clean it more and see if it shines up some more or something. It could just be the grease that really is throwing me off. Yeah. It is. I believe it's a yeah. It should be a flat grind, not a hollow grind. It's kind of hard to give depth of field on a camera on an iPhone that's this close. But anyway, pretty sure it's a flat grind, so a very high flat grind. Probably like well over an inch tall at the tallest part of the blade. So yeah, it's got a nice kind of very long taper into the edge from the flats. So overall, yeah, ergos are great. Action's not as drop shutty as I would have expected, given how heavy this blade probably is, just weight wise. I might open it up and try to clean out the action, see if that does anything. Add some KPL. Maybe it's just the preservative grease on it that's gummed up the action, or some lint got in there somehow. But yeah, I totally forgot to mention for the blade as well, this is Van X, so that's a steel that I've had a little experience with. The only knife I have in Van X currently is the Quiet Carry Drift, the 2.0 thumb stud version. But I'm very interested. So part of the reason this knife appealed to me was the fact that it came in Van X and it's this titanium frame lock, so it should be a very sturdy knife, very large. If I didn't already have an Umnumzan, this might be something that I'd be more inclined right off the bat to be like, oh, I'm going to keep this and hard use this. But given that I have an Umnumzan and I believe that it's probably a little stronger lockup given the external stops, yeah, the other aspects about the Umnumzan that I would be more inclined to lean towards rather than this particular knife for a true like lifelong hard use folder. This is something that I probably will sell, but we will see. I might be, I'll try to give it a little bit of carry and usage just to see if it kind of reveals itself to be something worth saving. But just to be perfectly honest, for myself, this is very subjective and very much based off of the knives I currently own, not so much judging this knife on its own. This isn't a knife that I feel so like this. It doesn't feel like a lifelong knife for me, whereas the Umnumzan, not just in feel, but just kind of a lot of the intangibles as well. It's a knife that I'm more inclined to keep lifelong. This one's kind of like somewhere in the middle. Like I love the action on the VECP button lock, but it's not as strong of a knife, so I wouldn't consider it a hard use folder the way the Umnumzan is, and probably even the way that the Padre could be. So yeah, for those of you that have already purchased this and are looking for confirmation bias, sorry, I'm a little lukewarm from me in particular, but that's based off my own particular kind of priorities right now. I'm trying to like shrink down my collection and really not have too much redundancy in terms of function and form. So yeah, I'm really wanting to also try the Quiet Carry Drift Large, which very recently was released. That I've heard really, really good reviews on like the Facebook group for Quiet Carry knife, like fans or whatever. And no one, as far as I could, like everyone says like this is the best knife I've ever handled kind of deal. Of course I don't know what knives they've handled or haven't, but yeah, I'm really excited to try that one. That one's also the reason I mentioned that because that's also in Van X. It's titanium frames for now only. So yeah, it's thinner blade stock, thinner profile, much lighter weight, but still about, I think, the same blade length. I don't know if it's the same handle length, but probably similar. So anyway, yeah, maybe I'll try to get that in before I move on from this Padre and compare those two, because those are two very recent knives in Van X that have been creating a lot of splash in the community. So yeah, if you have any questions about this knife, I'll try to keep it long enough to do a 1 month review. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, if you have any questions that you'd like to answered about this knife in particular, this is just the initial impressions. This is not like a thorough review. I clearly have not had any time using it yet. I have not gone into all the finer details of the aesthetics and whatnot. I've not had a chance to take it apart, maybe clean up the action, so that could very well change it. I do like the fact that this is a front flipper and has the opening hole, just because it gives it a little more deployment methods, whereas like and that's just from like a fidgety standpoint, because the Unimzon is not a fidgety knife in the truest sense. I guess I do, screwed it up there, but on camera it's a little difficult, but I can front flip that for what that's worth. But anyway, you guys aren't here for that. So yeah, if you have questions, feel free to throw them in the comments, or your own experiences and opinions about the Padre. Maybe I would have liked it better if I got the satin one instead. I don't know. Yeah, so for now, take care. Bye.